George Bryan. Along with my wife Lisa, we produced the film Paradise. Hope you enjoy it.
The awakening लाजिम था के देखो मेरा रास्ता कोई दिन लाजिम था के देखो मेरा रास्ता कोई दिन तन्हा गए क्यों
touched her still open wide. She warmed my desires. I would learn in the night. Obsessions kill desires. Unfamiliar tastes seem acquired. Nothing else inspires that burn in the night. She washed up on the shore with me with no time. Clean of everything she ever gave to me with no lights. Every flower has its own perfume that can't change. You and I, we don't separate. There's no blame, no blame.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm with George Bryan, executive producer of the movie Paradise. Thanks for coming, George.
You're welcome.
Where do you want to start?
Well, I don't really have anything programmed in my mind, so I guess I would just start where the idea first came to us. Where I think it first came to us. It's such a just thinking you're going to do something is such an ego-driven situation that it's hard to put an ID to it, because I did not have any direction. I didn't have any goal. I just had some money and a midlife crisis to deal with. And we're walking through the malls. We had just come out of the Grand Canyon, a couple of trips through the Grand Canyon. We had done a lot of rivers in canyons. We're walking through the various malls, and we keep seeing this video on the big screens where they had taken a camera and put it in a helicopter and thrown it through this, and then they had Tangerine Dream was playing in the background to this thing, and I'm thinking, this ain't very good. That's what went through my mind, is the canyon there's a lot more to the canyon than this kind of thing. So I was immediately poisoned myself with the idea that I could do it better. And that if I did it better, somebody would buy it because they bought that. Two big mistakes right off the bat. And
Two assumptions gone bad.
yeah, well, yeah. And if you happen to be able to finance a really bad idea, then you're in trouble. A couple of years of
The
your life.
trifecta.
Yeah. A couple of years of your life are going to be consumed along with all your money. And you're going to come out of it a lot wiser, but you need to buy a good coat while all this is going on, because you're not going to have a lot left. It's a black hole in many ways.
And it's the Grand Canyon because you were familiar with that.
Well, that was the trigger idea. The actual photos and stuff came from a river running friend of mine. I could refer to him sometimes as my partner, and we were partners on this. Ned, and Ned was a camera guy.
Better dead than Ned?
Better dead than Ned.
Yeah.
And he was a camera guy, and he had this 16 millimeter wind-up Bushnell camera. It was a beautiful camera. And we were just pumping film in that, and food into Ned and gas into the vehicles, and just started filming.
But you had intimate knowledge of the Grand Canyon because of your rafting experience,
Yeah.
is that correct?
Oh, yeah. We've been in and out of there, and I can't remember. We hadn't done the Rio Grande or those yet. We did those before this. We had quite a few canyons that we had done, and in the desert things that we had done prior to just doing this. Although I didn't pick it to be desert, it became desert because that's what Ned knew how to do. We worked with what we had.
Yeah.
We didn't have any ability. We didn't understand any of the processes.
So in the filming of this, how many people were actually present at the time this was happening?
Well, in the filming, it was him and I.
Okay.
And we would just go around through the desert and ruins and such, and then he had done this before.
By way of river stopping and then...
stopping on being on rivers and being on the highways. He had spent time with a man named Gray Warner, who did really excellent outdoor photography in the same area. And he had learned how to make mount shots where you drill holes you get the view that you want. You drill some holes. You don't want to tell the Department of Natural Resources you're doing this. You drill some holes in the rocks so that when you come back and you set up the mount in fall, winter, summer, it always has the same shot. So you can just set it in there, and you can get the snow, the sun, all of the different calendar events
I see.
that you go through.
I see.
And we had those places, and we had ruins, and he had a map that it was a government map that showed ruins on it that really nobody had paid any attention to. And we would go find those, and when we took photos out of some of the window shots from the inside out were places that we hiked into and did that.
So Ned wasn't only a photographer; he was also very interested in the canyons and the Grand Canyon and all that.
Yeah,
too.
he was an
It's not
outdoors-
just like you pulled some guy just with a camera. This guy was into it.
No, and we had been doing stuff, and I've been with him when he was selling photos. He was working for Gray Warner. He had some jobs going. He was a pro, and he was functional that way, and he was doing stock footage. And when Lisa and I were in California, when we decided that we wanted to do this thing, we were walking around at Del Mar, looking at these houses overlooking the ocean, and thought, we can do this. That's no big deal. We can do this. So we, like I say, we were poisoned. We were living in a bus, but we were going to go make a movie. And we came back up here, and he heard that we were talking about this, and he came and found us and said he wanted to do the same thing. And in the process of that, my niece came back from India with her new husband, that's a whole nother story.
And we'll get into that with the music.
But she showed up with her new husband, who's a tabla player, like a cast tabla player, and things start clicking,
So you got the photography, you have the location,
we know where
and
we're
now
going.
you think you got music coming.
Yeah, well, now we got music. We hope we got music. I don't know. I don't know anything about music, Lisa. Without her, whatever you see as far as and feel about quality, particularly in the music, she was the one with the ear.
You've got all three elements now. You've got
Well, yeah, we didn't quite have them all. I had her, and again, it was she had hooked up with another person down there in California.
Lisa had?
My niece, who had just come back from India with her tabla playing husband, met a person in Del Mar who was this aspiring musician producer guy. He's 20, 21 years old. Living in his parents' garage, These are all kids, and there's some really extremely talented ones, but they don't have a lot of experience.
Okay.
So
we'll get into that music thing. In the course of the moment you took the camera to your started filming, how long did it take you to complete the filming? Was it a year's time? Because I see there's some snow in some of these sections of the.
Well, it would have, the filming would have probably gone on totally over a couple of years.
Oh, was okay.
With the mount shots and such. He'd been shooting. He had stock footage, and some of this would have showed up with him.
I see.
We produced whatever wasn't there, which was the great majority of it, because he used us to get as another opportunity to get film stock for himself.
I see.
As he was shooting the stuff we were using, he's basically siphoning it off into his own self.
I see.
Yeah. He and I started out as very close partners, really close guys. And we ended up, like I use the term divorce, because we had to have lawyers to get us apart.
You and Ned?
Yeah, me and Ned, yeah. They kept me from killing him because they gave me another way of dealing with him, because otherwise I would still like to run over the dude, Yeah. So we had this stuff. He's the one that has the trap route. He can make the runs for photos, timing, all that stuff. He knows all the places. We camp out. We spend time on rivers. Some of it comes from that. The salt trip that we did, we took photos out of that. There's photos in there from Northern California, a forest fire that he just happened to be driving by and saw and got.
And had his gear?
Yeah, well, yeah, he had all his gear and got photos of the fire. And then he would put that sort of stuff into his stock footage too. So other companies come along, particularly commercial advertising people, will buy this stuff and you pick up money that way.
So this was self-financed?
Yeah. I'm the self. Yeah. Like I say, you got to be out of your mind, because it's total impulse. Then once you get started, you can't quit.
And you'd never done anything before this?
No, nothing like this. No, I've done lots of things, but nothing like this. And again, I didn't know anything about music. I didn't know anything about
It's
film.
just, the film
it was-
is just so, it's so, I just got to say, and I'm probably late in saying that, this is the most fantastic
Yeah,
film.
well,
The visual and the music, oh my God. And then,
But again,
all the ruins and all this, this is otherworldly.
but in reality, it got saved from us working it, because we didn't know what we're doing. And we took what we had and we put it together in ways that made sense at the time, and it's kept it as simple and as inexpensive as we could, because we're paying cash for everything that happens. That the opening incident, or the opening shot of those are
The
Hubble,
the space stuff.
Yeah, that stuff came off the internet. Those are the first Hubble shots.
Oh, is that
that
right?
went out on the internet, the very first ones they put on the internet. But we had to take those to another company who took them and made them move. We couldn't do that.
I
You
see.
couldn't do that on your
I
own.
see.
That cost $1,500. I can still remember $1,500
Yeah.
to make those things move. Well, today you can do that with your computer sitting,
right.
in your front room.
So if you're going on the water, I mean, that's a lot of equipment to carry, wasn't it? Or
Well, yes, not really. A few cases, big Pelican cases. We use Pelican cases.
I don't know
And you
what
could
that
get,
is.
Well, they're water sealed. They're
Oh, okay.
watertight bomber things. You can throw them on the rocks. And they're packed very well in foam. And it's basically, again, it's a Bushnell kind of camera. It's probably about like that. And you hand wind it.
and then what powered it?
The hand wind it, springs.
No.
Yeah, it was a hand wound
Like
camera.
old school Hollywood type of
That's
deal?
exactly what it was.
Well, how can
And
you-
16 millimeter.
Okay,
And you wound it. You didn't sit there and wind it. You didn't make it that way. You wound it up. It was spring wound.
we'll come back to that.
And they're excellent cameras, obviously. And we had that used a computer to make it. We could make it move with a computer.
Yeah. But we're talking 97, 98. That's
Yeah, it was pretty clear.
that's early
Yeah,
stuff.
it's early. It's the same with the music. The music's fusion, and a lot of fusion music, which was not, and then we did the whole thing. We did the music and the filming completely backwards from the pros. I got a couple lectures from some people about how I was just doing this wrong and how it wasn't going to work and how blah blah blah, and I think it worked.
So when you're on the river, and do you already know as you go down places that you want to film, or you just go on the fly?
Pretty much. You pretty much know
then,
where you're going.
Then do you come off? And I don't know anything about rafting, and I don't know anything about the Grand Canyon. Do you dock your raft, and then do you scale up to sleep? Or do you sleep? Is there a place where you can pull out and have a place to sleep
Well,
right
you
there?
set up when you're doing the canyon, you carry a lot of gear with you, so you've got everything you want. You set up a kitchen every day, and you've got everything you need. You go up on the bank, you get away from the water, depending upon the water levels, but mostly it's not a problem. As far as taking pictures, Ned was the guy that did this. He's the guy
right.
that understood. And Ned had been through the canyon at that point, I think a couple dozen times.
Oh, is that so?
Yeah, he had wrote it and been there. He just would go back.
Oh.
And it was looser in those days, too. You could get in and out of the canyon easier than you can now. So he spent a lot of time down there. And there's particular shots in the canyon that are there's a shot, we call it owl eyes. And you when you see it on the film, it's just beautiful shots, and it just came from a certain angle, and you really had to know where that angle was to get that shot, that kind of thing. And he did a lot of really good stuff that way. It was, yeah, he's good with his camera. Good with his camera.
So, I'd like to get into the photography, but what am I overlooking as far as the actual inception, the idea? Okay, so you got the money, things starting to fall together, you have a vision of what you want to do, and then you've got the photography, and then music comes up. You know the canyon. You've been down it numerous times by that time, or yes?
Oh,
or
yeah,
no?
yeah. No, we know the river. But, you know, the thing that's really different here, and again, is there wasn't any inception. We didn't have any direction. We just started pulling stuff together. And it just dictated itself, because I didn't know what to do with it. I didn't know how to edit any of this stuff or make it fit together or what it should look like, and I didn't have any goal for it. I wasn't trying to do something. We just had to keep going. You couldn't stop, even if you didn't know what you were doing. You had to do the next process that had to be done.
Yeah.
You had to get this together, and then and Ned and I would get in fights over stuff. So I would end up taking things away and dealing with them by myself, like the music or such have you. And he and I had a real splitting in the process of this. So it really came to bed, and then the same thing happened with the music producer. When we really got to the end, then we started having problems for various reasons, which were, oh God.
We'll get into that. We'll get into that.
Yeah. But anyway, it just rolls, and
You had time, money, and you had photography.
and all the
music.
bases were covered. All the bases are covered.
All the bases are covered.
And you're letting them cook. That's,
Yeah.
you're feeding them.
Yeah.
You've
got no reason not to, because it's all falling into place, right?
Well, yeah, it's all working so far. I mean, you don't know what's going to happen, but it's working so far, and so you just keep feeding this process, and you don't want anything to go wrong, which is what your job really becomes. It's just keeping a lid on everything, and when you've got people people are people, and when you shove, we probably had 8, 10 people that were real close in what was happening, maybe more, and at times more. And knives come out, oh God, things happen, the egos get hurt, yeah, and it can get a little bloody. You find out who your friends are. There's a variety of things that happen that really are pretty life-changing. You end up going into things with people that you think you knew and are close to, and you come out of it, and really it's in a different world. You look at them differently. You will always look at them differently, and if you ever see them again,
And you probably don't want to.
well, you don't want to.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
So what would you say was, skipping to the end just for a minute, from this wonderful movie Paradise, basically what was the end result as far as people involved?
Oh, yeah, well, no, it was total chaos. And there never really was an ending, because basically it was like people were falling off the ship as it's going down the thing, and so you're losing people here, losing them there, and bringing them back in. And it's just a constant flow of different things. And the thing that for myself that I was aware of through the whole thing was I did not want to look stupid. And boy, this can make you look stupid faster than anything, because you're oblivious to what it really looks like yourself, and you kind of realize that that you just don't know anymore.
Right.
You sat up at 4 a.m. and stared at this thing and over and over, and you're lost. So you just kind of pray to whatever you pray to, that when it's all over and said and done, you realize at some point you're not going to get any money back. I mean, you've spent all that, and you don't want to have spent it to make yourself look stupid.
Right.
So when you pull it out from under the bed 20 years later and plug it in, that's what you're praying for.
Yeah.
You know, that's what you're praying for.
It holds. So you and Lisa were good on it. Ned, Ned, you had a falling out with.
Oh, yeah, I have not seen or spoken to him since.
Okay, and the music people, they.
Well, we had some trouble there, but at the same time, I didn't have. The trouble with them was their just childishness, and they got over it.
Okay.
It wasn't the same kind of viciousness
Right.
that I had to deal with Ned, and that was a whole different story. So the music, and my niece is the one whose vocals and writing made the music so good, and I'm very close with her, and she's my.
To this day.
Oh, absolutely, yeah, no, we're close as I'm basically right up there with her favorite guy.
Oh, good. So I want to talk a little about photography because I have these cameras here and I don't really know how to operate them, and I just push a button, pray that they work. But I mean, I really a thing that I've had more appreciation of over the years is those people with that eye for photography. So far as Ned goes, I mean, he had an eye.
Ned had always been an outdoor guy. His father was a surgeon, and his mother was East Coast money.
Okay.
So, and they lived in Ashland, and Ned was skied, and he set the course for the U.S. team and stuff at Bachelor, and he just lived out there and picked up the photography.
So let's talk a little bit about gear. You said he had a Bushnell.
Yeah, I think
16 millimeter.
Yeah, 16 millimeter,
And,
and then you wound it up. It was
But
spring
once
loaded.
you don't constantly keep winding.
No,
up.
just spring loaded. You just wind
So
it
you
up
wind it,
and it runs.
and then how long does it run
I
after?
have no idea.
Okay.
But I have no idea, 'cause I never ran it. Never
So you
picked
wind it up like.
Yeah, he kept it wound, and,
okay.
and that was the power source. So you didn't need any kind of
Oh, boy,
electricity
that's
or anything
cool.
like that.
That's
yeah.
cool.
And then we had hooked up some computer systems to mounts that would move the camera and take pictures.
Oh, like a gimbal, I think they call
yeah,
that.
and it would just take a picture every 2 seconds, and
that's
and you just bleed that through, and that's where how we got our time lapse.
that time lapse is just incredible.
Yeah, so, and that was some of the first when people just doing skies and stuff where you see the motion. And,
Oh, the time lapse is just out of this world.
yeah, good. I'm glad you like it, because I had one guy grab me and tell me I had too much of it. So a producer, well, this is what you get. You get from the pros. The pros are always screwing with it.
Everybody's got an opinion, right?
And they all want to tell you about it. And again, really, so much of this happened because we let the people do what they could do because we didn't know how to do it.
Right.
We didn't have our opinion didn't matter.
Yeah, and you can't micromanage something like that because they got the talent, right?
And it just came. The thing about coming in from the outer space, that sort of idea, that came from sitting in the music studio, working on the music, listening to the music, and sitting there and up on the top shelf, these guys, they had a globe, and it was an old Boeing's advertisement, and it had the space shuttle circling around the globe, and this really old clock, and it's just kind of staring at that, and like clink. You can get the photos off of the internet coming in from the Earth, and those various photos. Go get those, and you just clink, 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 and you come down out of the Hubble, and you're back on the planet, and it was on the internet. We just pulled them off of the internet. And bingo, that kind of thing.
Do you know what ruins those were? Were those Navajo ruins that you saw down there?
Well, there's a whole assortment of them.
Are there
Yeah,
different?
within the
Yeah, I mean, there are numerous. I mean, you had some
yeah.
hieroglyphs, I think you call it.
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah. That would have been probably Navajo, because they're a little bit more up north, and I assume that's what he was into at that point. Yeah, or the Pueblo people, whatever that whole area was. There were different tribes,
Right.
but they were pretty much the same indigenous people, lived the same way, kind of thing.
I always wonder why they would want to live there. Because there's some of the footage is actually an abode, you know, with wood as a doorway, you know. It's like, why would you want to live there? I guess it would be safe.
Well, but the climate was when those the Anastasi were there, the climate was considerably different, and they had rain, and they could go down in those lower areas and grow beans, squash, various vegetables, and it was a good good farming area, and then they could get up on the hill when they needed to. In the Unkar, what they call the Unkar Delta, which is this big open space in the canyon, there's a butte in the middle of it that goes up, 400 or 500 feet. And when you get up on top of that, you can see this little dwelling up there where they would have had their lookout. The lookout could have seen 20 miles in every direction.
I see.
And there would have been a warning if the wrong people were coming through, or that sort of thing.
Some of the photography there, it almost looked like it was lit inside, so you can see the light coming out. Is that exactly?
Candles.
Oh, it was?
Yeah, you just probably stole them out of a motel or something. They were candles.
And the other thing I couldn't figure out is how he knew that the moon was going to come up right then and there at that place. There's some moon rises.
Oh, yeah. Those
and
are
like he's on it
shots.
before, and the next thing you know is the camera hasn't moved, but it's perfectly centered for the moon rising.
Yeah.
It's just...
Well, he's got he and Gray and other people have used these mounts, and I don't know whether that was his mount or somebody else's mount, but he would have known where the moon was going to be on that particular night.
But it was a full moon. I mean, like this is
Well,
I mean, you can see the craters like I've never seen craters before. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they're beautiful. The air is so clear. That desert air.
So it's funny, in that whole movie, there's not a person in that movie.
Right.
There's not a person.
That's exactly.
That's
what I'm
hence.
saying. Yeah. You just, you have to keep it in something that you're not going to shame yourself with.
Right.
And if we'd have put a person in there, I'd be regretting it today.
No, it wouldn't be paradise.
Yeah, it would just be, it'd be something else. And it would have been, it might have worked if I'd have been really smart, but I'm not. It wouldn't have worked. I know that.
Yeah.
Any kind of plot wouldn't have worked because that's just that gimmicky kind of thing that I'm not good enough to do. You better be very professional.
So do you remember anything about the Bushnell? And maybe I should have researched this. But there would have been film canisters that he would have...
No, they just opened it up, and it was just like a...
the round... Okay, so then he'd pack those
Yeah,
up and
you
get
just
into
load
it.
it.
So he packed a bunch of film.
Yeah, you bring it. How it came in on what kind of spools, I never again paid any attention to it.
It's just... Visually, it's...
Yeah, it should be, Google it, though. They should have pictures,
I didn't know what it was.
Yeah. It's all about the lens.
Well, and
and
the person
the
behind
machining, Yeah, Ned did a good job.
Yeah. Well, did he have a straight job, or was that his job?
No, Ned just rambled. He was just rambled. He was an outdoor guy. He sold some of this film. Like I say, his parents were rich. He would never admit that, but his mother siphoned. His mother gave him money, and
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, Ned.
So you've got this great topography. You've got way ahead of its time photography. And let's talk a little bit about music, because that...
Mercy. part of what happened is, is like your reaction is that you enjoy the music, you like the music, and I, who know nothing about music, but I do know something about other people's enjoyment.
Well, that's a good, yeah.
And so with the workers, the people that handled the film, people that did the digitizing, people that handled music, I was always getting feedback from people around it, and that's what I based my opinions on as to what was good and what we needed to do and what we didn't need to do. And I probably got into the music more than the filming, because Ned was the camera guy, and he pretty much knew everything to do, and I just carried bags for him and bought hamburgers. But the music, I would going into the studio was that was the satisfying of the midlife crisis.
Yeah.
That was a different world.
Right.
That took care of, but that was my Corvette.
Right.
Going in there and sitting down and just being involved in that, making decisions and on and on and on, and hearing it come together and realizing that it was good and that these were going to be this was going to work. Just individually, each piece was individually good enough that it stood on its own.
Right.
We didn't have to put something that tied everything together.
Right.
It just you could go from one piece to the other piece to the next, and the way that Pickslay put it together too was he was thinking about that, and it's pretty coordinated.
So let's talk about the main players in the music here. What are
Pat Pickslay, Sarah.
and what was his job?
He was the producer. He produced the music.
Okay. Sarah.
Sarah Ingram is my niece, and she's the one that just had shown up from India with her husband, Rais Ahmed, the tabla player.
So those are your three.
Yeah, those are my three main. And along with Pickslay came Lito Romero. And Lito did a song for us. And we dedicated one of the dedications was to his grandfather.
Oh, okay.
Celedonio Romero.
I remember seeing that.
So we got.
And what was his instrument?
Guitar.
Oh, so that's a lot of that guitar is him?
Well, the guitar piece is him. He's a classical, very highly.
Okay.
He's a big deal. And Celedonio.
Okay. Yeah, that's fantastic.
Yeah, Celedonio was a treasure, Spain of the country. He was a Spanish treasure. They wouldn't let him leave.
I see.
So these guys were really big in the guitar thing. And Angel, Lito's father, is a member of I don't know if these guys are even still alive, Los Romeros, the group of I believe 4 of the brothers that play the guitar together, and they do concerts. I mean, these guys are big, really big. And Lito is the son of Angel. Well, Lito we had our first song that we got out of production and actually got it on the tape where we could hear it. We called it Remembering the Future.
Okay.
And it was good. It was good. And that was the one that Lisa heard. The first song we heard, she heard that song and said, these guys are good.
Yeah,
So, we knew enough to pursue that with them. That's where the rest of it came from. But Leo took a cassette and gave it to his dad, Angel, who was looking for something to reinvent himself. He wanted to be cool. He's been this classical guitar player with a suit on. Now he wants to be cool.
Okay.
So he hears this song, and he just grabs it. He just took it. And he and Bill Conte and another big producer from Hollywood went and made an album based around that title, Remembering the Future. And that was the main song. And they took it right off of our tape. They didn't even redo it. They just,
really?
Yeah.
Really?
They got, with the exception, they put Angel over the top of it. And it didn't, and plus our Pickslay, our guitar player, was the one that, Angel may be the best guitar player in the world, but his riff was finished up by a 20-year-old kid who lives on his parents' couch. It was his guitar at the end, not Angel's.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, they just took it. Because Angel can't play that loose.
Right.
Everything is structured.
Right. He's
And
classic.
He's classic. And if you got a jam, he can't do it.
I hear it.
The 20-year-old just blew him out of the room. Yeah, Bill Conte used him instead of Ainhill.
So how did Ingram and Ahmed, they were a couple?
Yeah. They
How
met
did they
in India.
find out about this thing? They were in India, is that correct?
Well, no, they had come back from India.
Okay.
They were back over here. She's my niece. I'm not, she's back, and we're in contact again, and all that sort of thing. I know what they're doing.
Yeah.
And I would imagine she came to me and said that she had just met this guy, and they'd figured they'd gotten this song going. So they started writing songs together almost right away. She and Pickslay. And that they had gotten this song together, and so I gave them the money to produce it. They produced it, got the song together. Ainhill stole it.
Okay.
That's where our first song went. I couldn't say anything because these guys, I'm dependent on these guys,
Right.
and they think they're going to be stars because Ainhill paid attention to it.
Okay.
And that they're going to go with BMI. Everything's going to be big. The guy's looking at it, figuring out he's going to buy a swimming pool. I mean, everything is like going through the roof for them, and I couldn't turn it off without losing them.
Who are the voices that we hear? Is that
That's Sarah. Sarah's the female vocalist, and then there's a piece by Rice.
Oh, is that him?
Yeah.
Oh God, that is what a voice.
Yeah, you know.
Well, I mean Sarah as well, but that male vocal that was something. You know, you just don't hear a voice like that. That's freaking awesome. So,
Well, hang on.
huh?
There's a story with this.
Okay.
We were just at that stage in producing the music where he was getting ready to. This song came, and I can't remember how he got it. I think his father wrote it. And we were going to do this, and she dumped him. She ran away with Pickslay, the wife, Sarah.
Sarah Ingram ran away with Pickslay.
Pickslay, yeah.
And left.
Left Rice standing in Encinitas.
And he's Indian, right?
Yeah. He followed her over here. They're married because that's the only way she could get him in.
Yeah, right.
So he's standing there, and with me, I got to get him to record a song, and he wants to go home. He's had it. He's upset. She's dumped him. He's crying all the time. Can't get him to stand up straight. It's awful. I'm babysitting this guy, and I'm trying to deal with her. I'm trying to counsel her. She's running off with the producer, who's like, "This isn't going to work." You know, I mean, I know when it's going to work and when it's not going to work. It's not going to work, except I got the problem with Rice, who's like falling apart. So he wants to go home. It's like $1,000 to send him to India. And he wants me to buy him a ticket to go to India. And that's when genius. Okay, Rice, I'll buy you the ticket, but you got to sing the song first.
Oh, is that so?
Yeah, I took him into the studio. He sang that song, and I put him on the plane.
Is that so?
That's why he sounds like that.
Oh, because it's, yeah, there's emotion there.
Yeah,
Wow, and you captured that.
yeah,
Because he was kaput. He was toast.
yeah. And then the song right after that is her, which she recorded it beforehand, and it's a B-A-Doop, I believe. B-A-Doop, I can never say his name.
Right.
But that was written by his father, and it's a country and western song from India.
Oh, okay.
And it's basically, you know, I'm so lonely tonight, and I'm waiting for the sun to come up, you know? And his song is "Please Don't Leave Me."
Oh.
That's why it was like, please. Basically, that's what he's saying in the lyric is, "Please don't leave me."
Well. Pickslay, is that his name?
Yeah.
He was basically the producer?
Yeah, probably 2021.
Oh, just a kid.
Yeah, living in his parents' house.
And he knew of the studio, you guys should do all this stuff? Or?
Oh yeah. I mean, he'd done a few things. He was experienced to some degree, and he was working in his parents. You know, he's living in his parents'
Plus, he
house.
was a musician as well.
Well, yeah, he's already he could good musician. He could play guitar and all that sort of stuff very well, and he's still doing it. I Googled him the other day, and he's still down there doing it. I should actually get a hold of him. Remembering the Future was a really great song, and then we just basically got lost in the shuffle of this whole thing.
Yeah.
But it would be we got some of this music out. We had some turns on the Seattle radio with the last piece on the film was called "Sought."
Yeah.
And we got that. I got that out on the radio.
Was there ever an actual CD or cassette
not-
made of it?
No, not just of the music.
Yeah.
No, just this, and we barely saved this. They were going to destroy
Because,
it.
I listened to this last night again on good speakers. This holds up. This is...
The guys were good. They were good, and they paid attention. This was their chance.
And they're not copying anybody.
Right.
Like I say, with the Paraguayan flute, with tablas, with harmonium, with blistering guitar, or the classical guitar, and those angelic voices, and and shifting with the images on the movie.
Yeah, which they weren't made together. They didn't have anything to do with each other when they were produced, and.
But that was really spliced in there nice because
the editor was this John Reul, and Bill Nye, the science guy.
Yeah.
John was his editor.
Oh, okay.
And we plugged some of our film into Bill Nye, who then let us use their Avid machines to do the editing.
I see.
So, and John did the editing, $500, I think he edited for it. Because
That was in Seattle, wasn't it?
Yeah. And he did the editing, and we would in those days we're on cassette. We didn't have digital stuff, so all was on those little cassettes.
Right.
And I would just be handing him cassettes as the music was being produced down there, and he would listen to it on his way to work.
And the studio was in San Diego,
In
wasn't
San
it?
Diego, yeah. El Cajon.
El Cajon.
Yeah. Yeah, Golden Tracks. Just this little out in the middle of nowhere. It was cheap. It was like $75 an hour or something.
Yeah, that was
And
a lot
it's a
of money
studio.
back then.
Yeah, well, yeah, it was a studio price. It was the rest of these. Yeah, like I say, it was just paying money. If you want some money here, and just to happen to have the money at the time, and I'm just. We got some money back from Avon and a couple commercials. They picked up some of our stock footage. We got a couple of grand, but that's been it.
Yeah.
That was it. The rest of it.
And it's just been on the shelf all this time.
Yeah, yeah. It's sitting
So what do you
on
think
that.
about it? Because we're gonna put it up there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm happy with it. I'm not ashamed, and that's all I'm
Oh
shooting
no.
for. This is okay. Yeah, I'm pretty happy in that sense. I think we did a good job given the fact that, and primarily because we didn't impose ourselves on it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It isn't. We would have dated
Yeah,
it.
there are times when you just got to get out of the way.
Yeah, when we had to because we didn't have any choice, and everything was running faster than I was. Like Ainhill showing up and taking the music. I mean, I couldn't do anything about it. I think then I went into that thing thinking, well, maybe he'll be of help. Maybe he'll help us out because he's a star,
Right.
And no. Nothing. He just took your stuff and forget you. Yeah.
Well, I'm anxious to at least someone be able to see this thing.
Yeah. It has. This is the world premiere.
This is the world premiere.
Yeah. It was a lot of fun, and it was crazy. It was insane. Lisa and I mean, it's towards the end, and what happens is you finally get through with actually making something. You can plug it in and see it, and then what do you do with it? Then you got to distribute it, and that's when you find out that you don't have no idea. You had no
Plus,
idea.
all that costs yet more money now.
God, yeah, well, that's when it gets expensive.
Yeah.
It's cheap making the thing. Just try to find somebody to buy it. That's what's going to cost
Yeah.
And that's where Lisa put her foot down wisely. Said, "We're not going any further. Forget it. It's over. Shove it under the bed." And that's what we did.
Well, it's out now.
Yeah. And now it can be because this whole system is here now. It wasn't here then.
Right.
You just,
right.
you didn't have it. This was made to go onto people's TV sets
Right.
Through that process
Right.
of taking the disc, but that's gone.
Right.
That's gone, and it's digitized. And again, we got it back from the American Video or whatever, well, I can't remember the name of it. They're the ones that put it on the first on the VHS tapes for us. They produced the first couple boxes of VHS tapes, and then basically that was the end of that, and it sat there then for 10 or 15 years, and we just didn't pay any attention. And then one day I thought, well, I'm going to call up and get some CDs made. That maybe that would be fun. I called them up, and it was the day that they were going to destroy it.
Really?
Yeah. I said, "Oh, that one, grab it!" And they grabbed it, pulled it out.
Pulled it out of the burner.
Yeah, it was going to the dump. It was on its way, and because it had been there so long, so they pulled it out.
Timing is everything.
Yeah, they pulled it out and they made the CDs that we have.
Yeah.
Now.
Yeah.
And
The DVDs, right?
Or
yeah,
whatever
that's okay.
you call them. And that's what saved it. Otherwise, it would have been gone.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Wow. Timing is everything.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. All my life has been about timing. Yeah.
Well, George, I can only encourage someone to watch this thing. Take a moment, try to get some sound on there, just tune out and just go on a trip. That's kind of how I saw it.
Yeah, and that's really what when it came down to it, what we were trying to, if we were trying to do anything, it was that it would just allow somebody to sit back and just basically lose themselves.
That's it.
Yeah, in imagery and sound.
Where do you get the opportunity to do that
Yeah.
much anymore, you know?
We're not trying to teach, we're not trying to lecture, just look at some
Yeah.
really beautiful images
And with beautiful
with
sound.
beautiful sound.
Watch this. Listen to it. Paradise. Executive Producer George Bryan, along with Lisa Bryan.
Yeah, we can say her name now because we didn't say any of the bad stuff, right?
No,
We didn't talk about anything that was
No,
like,
I think
Yeah.
we avoided.
Don't have
I
to
think
sue
we
myself.
avoided the law.
Yeah.
I think we avoided people harming themselves.
Yeah.
I think we.
and responsibility. That's probably the most important.
Okay. Thank you so much, George. I appreciate
It
it.
was fun.
Okay.